Thank you, Mr. Rajiv Golapudi, for the overview. Now, moving on, we have the next session, which is Run SAP Like a Factory. So may I now have on stage Mr. Dinesh Rao, Program Director, SAP Labs India, to share some insight on Run SAP Like a Factory. Mr. Dinesh, please.
Thanks, Vidur. Thank you. So you can hear me? All right. So first of all, I just want to give a little more introduction about myself. As Ambrish said in the morning, I come from development. So I have a team of 40 people who are really working on developing some of these tools. And I have also worked closely with some of the customers out here to develop the tools that are really required and that is really useful for you. And I also am open that with the Indus group, that if you really come together and there are certain things that are pain points and we need to work together, I'm open to actually working with you on that. So with that, let me just start with Run SAP Like a Factory. So Shiva has already kind of given an overview of this whole slide, and what we are talking about is this portion here. So where you have already completed your project and then you're actually live and you're operating your system landscape. And so you want to obviously make sure that this landscape is available for your end users and they are really able to use it in a 100% manner, in the sense that it's completely performant, it's available all the time, etc. Shiva gave an analogy that this is about clearing your room, cleaning the papers or the dust around, and then arranging the chairs properly to make this use of this room effectively. I think it's not that trivial. I think some of you from Basis would agree with me that SAP technology has changed quite heavily. So when we had just the ABAP platform, it was much more easier to manage this compared to now. For example, with the entire Java technology coming in some of the solutions, with SAP's acquisitions of business objects, for example, we are moving into .NET kind of framework. So the whole technology stack has changed quite heavily. So you cannot really hire administrators who have expertise in these different technologies to manage your operations. So in that sense, I would think it's not trivial. So I would also ask one question to all the people who are in Basis here. So what is the percentage of problems that you get in the system are really initiated by the user? In the sense, the user calls you up and says that I cannot, say, log in into this system, or I'm getting a very bad response on this particular application. So what is this percentage approximately? Sorry? 40%. Okay. So which means that 90% of the time IT knows all the problems, or the other way around? Did you understand correctly?
We talk about this kind of problem.
Yeah, IT. Overall, say for example, it could be that there is a user who's in some other location who calls you up and says that something is not working, for example, and at that time you just realize, oh yeah, it's not working. So you don't realize it, but then someone else calls you up and says that there's a problem. So less than 10% is what I heard, 40% is what I heard. So in general, at least it's not close to 0%, in the sense there's a lot of times where the user calls up and that's when you realize probably there's a problem, and then you start doing the root cause and then trying to figure out the issue. So what I'm going to talk about is how IT can be really ahead of this, in the sense that ahead of the user. So before the user really calls you up, etc., you already know that there is a problem, and you probably already started the root cause analysis of this particular issue. So this is about how you really run it like a factory, in the sense that it's really up and running, and even if there are problems, the problems are known to you much in advance to the user calling you up and telling you. Yeah, so what is the meaning of Run SAP Like a Factory? So this is probably a representation of a typical IT team at a customer. So how the solution is really orchestrated at a customer. So the CIO expects high quality in terms of your project execution and also operational excellence. And when you come into the run stage, you would like to really run this landscape with the lowest TCO possible, the total cost of ownership. Yeah? So this is an expectation. So that you have time for innovating, you can implement the next business process which actually helps add value to the business. Let's look at the reality. So this is probably your operations team. So you probably have a first level support, functional support teams. There are teams which are looking at your application server. There are teams which are looking at your infrastructure. and you have the business process owner and the end user. So what typically happens is that you have problems, and the problems are distributed. The problems are being handled in various areas, and there is no central transparency on this. So there are certain teams which are working on some problems, there are certain teams which are working on the other problems. So what we propose is that you have something called as an operational control center. And the operational control center is nothing but a set of monitors which centralizes or which creates a transparency on the entire problems that you have on your landscape. So the whole idea is to kind of get a visibility into how my entire landscape is. This could be not only related to the systems, databases, etc., but how your business process is doing. And so once you have this knowledge of where my problems are, you take the critical ones which are affecting your business process and start working on improving them. And over a period of time, the idea is that all these problems kind of are gone, and then you have an IT organization which is working efficiently, and then you have the number of problems are reduced, and then you have a happy end user in the end. Yeah, so this is in theory. And what you see out here is a picture from a large bank in China, where they have implemented a mission critical support, where there is 2 FTEs per shift who are looking into these monitors, and they are the ones who are actually dispatching all the problems to the right people. And what you see out here are the projections from these monitors, which are some of the tools that we have in the Run SAP like a factory. So this is part of the solution manager. So once there are problems that are identified, so these are kind of worked upon with the root cause analysis, and then also you see how you can actually improve these monitors. Maybe after some time, this monitor is not valid anymore because you have kind of really eliminated the root cause, and then you have to look at what is the next monitor that you want to implement. The same thing in a pictorial way. So these are the monitors that I was talking about. So these are the central monitors, and the monitors are really fed from SAP Solution Manager. So there are 2 areas that we will talk about a little while later. One is the application operations, where this is really about your infrastructure in terms of your hardware, in terms of your application layer like database, operating system, etc. And then the next level is the business processes, so where you really model your business entities and then you make sure that the business process is up and running. And once you set up the monitor, as I was talking about, you need to have a continuous optimization process where you really see whether these are the monitors that are really helping you now. Have you really eliminated some of the requirements for these monitors and work on the next set of improvement. Okay, so what I talked about was theory in terms of what is a monitor, how you really improve the process. Now let's see what really goes into these monitors. Yeah, so this is real. I mean, this is not something which is like just on the slide. Just before that, one orientation on at least just to make sure that we are talking the same language. So there is this infrastructure layer. So here Rajiv already mentioned about these printers, disks, storage, etc. So this is what we call it as infrastructure operations. And then there's the application layer, which is predominantly looked upon by the basis team. So where you have your products, your interfaces, your applications, your end users, and how their performance is for them, etc. So this is what we term as application operations. And there's a highest level. This is how you should ideally do your IT management, that you really create these business processes, and then you really look upon whether your business process is up and running. So this is the most crucial value add that IT does to business, to make sure that the business is able to run their operations smoothly. And depending on how your organization is set up, so various teams are managing these components. Yeah. So now let's look at what application operations is all about. So in a nutshell, it gives you an end-to-end set of tools for you to manage your entire landscape. Yeah? So this is not necessary that it is only an SAP landscape. It could also be non-SAP components in your landscape. So everything, you have tools available to manage this entire landscape. When I say what you manage, I will just show it in a second. So these are again the various tools that are possible. I will highlight that in the next slide. And again, this is probably explained better in this slide. So when we talk about application operations, so what do we mean by that? This is the process. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to identify these papers or the dirt that Shiva was talking about. So first of all, you need to really monitor that there are certain issues. Yeah. So we offer a lot of tools to proactively monitor these. So the way you do it is, it could be that you have an operational control center where you have a monitor and there are people who are looking at it 24/7. But this is probably not the most ideal way to do it, but this is also one way you can do it. The second way to do it is, you set up the monitors, you set up the right thresholds, and as soon as there is the problem has occurred, in the sense it has exceeded the threshold, you automatically get an email in your inbox or an SMS, and then you start doing the root cause on the problem. So these are two different ways by which you identify a problem. And with 7.1, SAP has put in a lot of effort in detecting the problem early and detecting the problem smartly. So once you know now that there is a problem in your landscape, so obviously the most important task is to solve it so that the business user can actually start working again. And for that, we have a lot of analysis tools, and this was available also in 7.0. This is called root cause analysis. Some of you might be familiar with this. So this helps you to really understand where the problem is, which is the exact issue, and then really solve them. And once you solve them, you need to really make sure that it doesn't really come again, or you need to really optimize this whole system landscape in such a way that these problems do not occur again. So there are certain tools that are also available to really optimize these things. And during the entire collection of data, so as I said, we collect the entire monitoring data from all your systems, productive systems in your landscape. So we put it into a BW of Solution Manager. So this is not the BW of your ECC or whatever. A Solution Manager, when you install, it installs a BW for itself, and all this data is available inside BW. And this is, from here we can do a lot of analytics. Some of the reports that Rajiv also showed really comes out of this BW. So with this, you're able to really find out how optimally your landscape is being utilized. So you can see whether my performance over the last 1 month has been good or not. You can figure out whether the SLA that you have with your business is being met on the monthly basis or not. So all these things you can make out with this. So now I will talk about what tools are available for monitoring that there is a problem in your landscape. So one, we call it as technical monitoring, so system, database, and host. So typically your landscape will have these technical systems which you would have scaled with multiple application servers, and these are probably running in different physical hosts or different virtual hosts depending upon how your landscape is. So at any point in time, you would like to know whether all these things are running. So your users are really able to log in into the system. They are getting a good performance as per your SLA. So we have tools which makes this transparent to you as IT. So how is my system? How is it doing today? Another key monitoring is your end users. So with the internet, obviously the users are all over the place. Yeah. So you could have users in Chennai, you could have users in Singapore or even the US. And typically what happens is, when you are say close to the data center and then you're logging into a particular say transaction, maybe displaying sales order or creating an invoice or whatever, you get a decent response time. It's available for you. But then a guy in say Kolkata or Singapore will call up and say that it's not working for me. So this is a typical problem. It could be because your network is down for all you know, or there is some problem with this PC or whatever. So we have tools here by which you can proactively monitor how the response time from each of your locations is. So there are scripts that you run on these locations. So before the user is logged in at 9 o'clock in the morning, probably you already know at 7 o'clock that there is a problem from say Kolkata today, because maybe there is something that has happened because of which he's not able to log in. So you're already working on solving the problem for him before he even knows that there is a problem. So this is the advantage that you have. So PI, process integration, or the XI as it was called earlier. So if some of you are from XI, you know that it's a very large landscape. So you have a lot of these adapter engines which are distributed all over the place. And then typically it so happens that you're doing business with your vendors, and then there are these important messages, important documents which are going. And whenever they are stuck, then the amount of time that you spend on really resolving this problem is pretty high. So with Solution Manager, you get a centralized view of all your messages, where they are going, where they are stuck, and then you're able to do a lot of these operations like canceling a message or restarting the message and things like that. Same with BI. So when we talk about BI here, we are talking about the SAP BW, business objects, and SAP HANA. So we have a solution where you actually monitor your entire business intelligence landscape in a uniform way centrally from Solution Manager. And interface and connections are also extremely crucial, that you have all these documents which are exchanged between different SAP systems through RFC connections or HTTP. So all these things also can be monitored here. Yeah, so with this, you are able to kind of identify the problem. So now, how are you informed about these problems? Yeah, so there are multiple ways in which it happens. So one is in Solution Manager, we have a web-based interface which is called as Alert Inbox, through which you get all the problems that are there in your landscape in one place. Yeah, so technically speaking, if you have a clean inbox, in the sense 0 lines in your inbox, that means your landscape is doing really good. So there is no problem. You can, I mean, as IT, you can, go home. Yeah, so it's as simple as that. Whereas the whole idea is that, yeah, you work on the problem which is most critical and then start clearing this inbox, because this is where all the problems are accumulated. If you're using SAP Solution Manager Service Desk, it is possible that you can, forward these problems into the service desk. So it could happen that the IT works from, say, 9 to 6, and beyond 6, you have a 24/7 first level support, and it's possible that you forward these problems to the service desk so that someone is able to work on it who's working on 24/7. If you're using, say, third-party service desk, so maybe HP or IBM or any of those things, there is a possibility that you forward these alerts to that third-party service desk as well. Of course, you can get the problems on email, so you can configure it saying that, I want to send this to this particular distribution list, or I want to send it to this particular person if this problem occurs, and this kind of forwarding is possible. And also we have the mobile application, as Rajiv just showed, that we have it on the Android platform as well as on the iOS, so Apple and Android, so you can see it also on the mobile. So this is a part about the problem identification. And for analysis, as I mentioned, it's already available from 7.0, that you have various tools available. So for example, you have a performance issue, then you can use the workload analysis to really identify where the performance bottleneck is. Yeah, so you can do it end to end across your solution, which also can go across non-SAP components. Trace analysis, I would think, is probably one of the most useful root cause analysis tool, because your solution is typically something which starts maybe on a web interface which is not SAP, and it goes through certain middleware before it is actually hitting your ECC or SAP solution. So with trace analysis, we are able to actually trace a request right from your non-SAP all the way up to SAP, and then figure out where the exact bottleneck is. So this is definitely useful for root cause analysis. Exception and change analysis are two other tools. Exceptions are basically all your thread dumps or the short dumps that are happening, maybe in your Z programs, maybe in SAP's programs. It will help you analyze how many of these things happened over the last month, etc. Change analysis is again one more very important thing. So it could be that your system is working quite well until yesterday, but today onwards it's not working anymore. So one problem could be that someone has gone ahead and changed some profile parameter or certain changes that have happened which is not approved by you, or you don't know about it. So change analysis helps you to dive into the exact change, when it was done, who did it, and things like that. So you can go up to that level. So exception management is another proactive way of managing exceptions, especially when you have a lot of these SAP, non-SAP interactions that are going on, and you want to trace a request right from the end, from the request initiation all the way till the end through a single identifier. So this is typically useful in banking sector, where the request has to be clearly tracked, because you need to really do a proper rollback, because it goes through multiple components and everywhere it has to be rolled back. So you can use exception management to understand certain problems that have happened. From an optimization perspective, so we have things like work mode management and IT calendar. So as IT, for example, you're also doing a lot of maintenance activities, and you need to kind of probably share this with your business as well. So we have something called as an IT calendar, which you can maintain all your maintenance activities, and you can publish this to all the user through your, say, intranet or through an email, etc. And there are also certain benefits. Typically what happens is when you're doing maintenance, so you take the system down, and then we have an infrastructure which is actually calculating alerts. So as the system is going down, maybe there is a flood of alerts because all your parameters are exceeding threshold, and then it just throws a lot of alerts. Whereas with work mode management, what you can define is that, okay, you can define that this is a downtime, so do not send me alerts. So that Monday morning when you come back, you're not filled with alerts in your alert inbox because it's anyway a planned activity, so you do not want to get any alerts on it. Data volume management is also extremely important. So you have a lot of these applications in SAP which are taking a lot of space. So you need your proper archiving strategy. You want to know which application is using how much space and things like that. So there's a lot of reports available here which helps you to manage your space utilization better. As I mentioned, reporting. So we collect data. I mean, as and when it's happening. I mean, in a lot of places it's a minutely. So every minute we are actually getting data from the managed system. So we are storing it into our BI, and so early watch alerts, already. So this is something that most of you have, I would assume. So we have inbuilt performance reporting. So where you already see quite granular data on how your systems are doing, what is the performance, how many users are logging in on a daily basis. All these different reports are possible out of the box. And if you have BW knowledge, this data is exposed, so you can create your own query, your own template, and then extend it to the reports that you really like. Yeah? The second level of reports, which is new with 7.1, is that what we call as service level agreement. So you might have certain service level agreement with your business. So this helps you to create transparency on how you are doing with respect to the service level. So you can set up certain dashboards where you say that, okay, your service level is 99.6%. Then at any point in time, you can check where you are today. So there are certain tools which are available which helps you to really generate this data. And we have these dashboards through which you can actually customize different reports that are possible into one dashboard. And the CIO dashboards are the ones where the data is much more at a higher level. So they are not really operational data like how you have in the IT performance reporting. So you have much more higher level data which helps you to optimize the utilization of your systems. Okay, so again, as Shiva mentioned, there's no big bang approach. So there is always a sequence which you can follow. And the recommended sequence is that you always start with the root cause analysis because the problems are there in the system. The most important thing for you to do is to really solve them as quickly as possible. So root cause analysis is what helps you in this. System monitoring is also something extremely important as a next step, that now, before the user really identifies the problem, you set up thresholds in such a way that you are ahead of the user and you are able to really identify the problem much before, and you can also solve before the user is hit with this error. If you have PI, BI, etc. in your landscape, then this is also something which is recommended. It will really help in reducing the TCO. So if you have multiple locations and then you're facing frequent problems that some locations have a specific problem but the other locations do not, then end user experience monitoring is recommended. And of course, the capacity or the data volume management is something that you need to implement for better utilization of your data capacity. Couple of slides on business process operations. Rajiv already put in a couple of examples already. So this goes one level higher. So this is about, again, arranging chairs. So to making sure that your business process is running. So typically, the technical issues that you have contribute to a business downtime, or it affects a business process. So this gives you a methodical way of coming from a business process like order to cash and then figuring out where is your problem. Is it because my ECC, there's an interface issue because of which my data is not going from my ECC to, say, my warehouse system, or is it some other interface which has failed, or maybe some system is completely down. And so this helps you to analyze the problem from a business process. So this also requires as a prerequisite to do solution documentation, as you saw in earlier. So you have to document your business so that you'll be able to monitor on that. So there are quite a few tools available in Solution Manager. So it's called business process monitoring, job management, data consistency management. So these are the different tools. Like, again, just to give a quick overview of these. So there are a lot of jobs which are, kind of doing the passing the data from one system to the other for your effective operation. So if some job is failing, then there's a chance that what data that you see in your BW, for example, is not accurate. So it's important that you monitor these jobs. Data consistency is also very important. Maybe you have a non-SAP system where you actually take in an order and then you transform this order into a sales order or a work order in SAP system. So there's a possibility that there is a problem with the interface and you have 10 orders created in your non-SAP system, but then in your SAP system only 9 orders are created. And you would like to know this because something has gone wrong with the other one. So with the data consistency management, you'll be able to get transparency on this. So why the 10th order was not created, and how do you really solve this problem? And of course, the analytics reports that Rajiv showed. So the good part is all the data is collected in BW. So we are able to give you already out of the box a lot of reports and analytics to help you understand how your business process is doing and how you can improve it further. Here again, there is a sequence in which you can go. So you start with the stabilization. So you start monitoring your jobs interfaces and you implement certain data consistency methods. And then you can do the business process monitoring, business process improvement, and finally you can use the usage analysis and performance measurements. Yeah, so in a nutshell, this is what I wanted to talk about. Summary, run SAP like a factory is SAP's approach for effective and efficient application operation. So this is how you actually can do the operation part of your ALM much more effectively. So create operational control center where you get visibility on your most important business processes, what are your critical interfaces, and how your software components underlying are doing. This would help you in lowering the time for problem identification and resolution. So this in a nutshell, my last statement is, if you are already operating your landscape through other means, my recommendation is to include solution manager in the whole operations process. Even if you have outsourced your operations, I suggest that you talk to your vendor and ask him to implement solution manager, and it will give you some sort of an opportunity for renegotiating the contract with the vendor. Any questions so far? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. I would now like you to present the winner's entry, which is Infosys entry. So since Infosys is not here today, I would like Mr. Dinesh to present that. Mr. Dinesh, please.
Okay, so again, as a disclaimer, so this is the presentation sent by Infosys about the whole run category. And I must admit, I'm not going to do justice in talking about what Infosys has done, but in the interest of the fact that we wanted to share what the winners have done, so I will just highlight certain key aspects that they have done, which has kind of made them win the whole award. So I will just highlight some of the parts which I'm confident about talking, and rest of the stuff I will probably skip it because I'm not really an expert on this. So it starts with about Infosys. I guess many of you know about it. So it's a company that really provides services, mainly in the area of business consulting, technology engineering, and outsourcing. So they have a business over multiple countries. Yeah, they're listed in NASDAQ and etc. So as a company, they have 145,000 employees and 88 nationalities, 76 cities across 33 countries. So it's a pretty large organization. And coming to the information systems, so if you look at it, the things that I want to highlight is that so they have a very, very complex landscape. Yeah? So they have 300 plus applications. And these applications are running on a wide area of wide application platforms. Like for example, you see that there is the .NET, they have J2EE clusters, they have on the blades and different application forms, caching, load balancing. So it's quite a complicated landscape, which really needs efficient operation to make sure that their business is running properly. So from a overall footprint, they have finance, payroll, HR, CRM, SRM, etc. So it's some of these things that are highlighted are SAP, but they also have a lot of non-SAP solutions. So this is the SAP footprint. So the core ERP is on ECC 6.0, EHP 5, so they are on the latest. Apart from that, they also have other things like the enterprise portal or T-Rex, business objects, process integration. So many of the things that I talked about, which makes your system or the landscape complex, they have it. So they have 15 plus solutions, 90 plus SAP instances hosted on 150 plus servers. So these are some of the important parameters which makes their landscape complex. So they were also part of the 7.1 ramp up, and they did some sort of an evaluation of what is the management tool that they would like to go for. And what is mentioned out here are some of the parameters on which they did the evaluation. Yeah. So for example, some of the things that are highlighted are, because of the landscape being so complex and being so many, so they wanted to have a central system administration, alerting, and root cause with minimal manual effort. So they need to have management dashboards for quick glimpse of system health. Anything that is significant is that, okay, so the monitoring architecture should be able to, doing root cause analysis in case of any incident, should be able to report changes in the system, etc. So these were some of the parameters. I think anyway you can, probably you're getting this slide deck, you can just have a look at it. And they decided, okay, Solution Manager 7.1 is what they want to go for. And they started their implementation along with the ramp up. So though during the ramp up, they could not really complete the implementation, but they kept it going. And then from the ramp up onwards, I think now they've reached a significant maturity level. So again, on the run side, what all they have done. So these are some of the tools that they have implemented. And I mean, if you recollect my presentation, there are certain things which are coming from where I was presenting. And what in this presentation we will also see is all these different tools with the screenshots that is coming from their landscape. For example, system monitoring. So as you can see here, so this is a system, these are the application servers, and these are the hosts on which it is running. So they do a proactive monitoring of their systems through the SAP Solution Manager 7.1. Then they have the root cause analysis for effective problem resolution. So they have the host analysis and the trace enabled. So this is how they do the root cause analysis. IT performance reporting. So these are again some of the reports that are coming from their own systems. BI monitoring. So they do have a large BI landscape, and they have a lot of these process chains which are running, which are feeding the data from one system to the other. So they do their process chain monitoring and the connection monitoring through SAP Solution Manager. Again, this is again a very significant one. So they have users all over the world who are accessing SAP systems through, for example, NetWeaver portal. And they also have a lot of non-SAP users, and they're using end-user experience monitoring to measure the availability and performance of these systems from these locations. So what you see out here, for example, are some locations that they have mentioned. I don't know whether you can read it. There's this Chandigarh here, Bhubaneswar, Frankfurt, Phoenix. So there are multiple locations from there where they are measuring the availability and performance of their critical systems. CIO dashboard. Again, as I said, all the data is available, and they have created certain dashboards where they're seeing some specific metrics from the system landscape. So they are not complete as yet, but they are still implementing. So for example, what you don't see is the business process monitoring that I mentioned about. So they have it in the roadmap. So out here, as you can see, they would like to do the business process monitoring with Solution Manager. So advanced CIO dashboards, to be honest, I don't know what exactly they have in mind there. So CA Wiley Introscope Enterprise Edition, this I would think is mainly for their non-SAP systems. If they want to instrument monitoring on the non-SAP systems, they would need CA Wiley Introscope and different functionalities. So this is again a summary. So how SAP Solution Manager has helped them. So the first one that you see is the root cause. They're able to troubleshoot better. End-user experience monitoring helped in getting real-time information of system experience from the end-user point of view. So advanced performance reporting, advanced system monitoring dashboards, data volume management to help their capacity planning, and the CDMC or the custom development management cockpit has helped in optimizing their custom code in the landscape. Yeah, so this is what they had as a presentation, and they are the winners of this particular award.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh Rao, for 2 wonderful sessions. Just some quick points before we move over for lunch. First is I would request you all to kindly register for the special interest group membership, just in case you've still not. So our registration desk would be outside. You could register for the SIG membership. Secondly, hope you all have the feedback form. We'll be collecting the same at the end of the conference. So I would now request our guests to please move over to the lunch area in the adjoining hall. We'll meet after an hour. Thank you.